This is the RENPHO AI-powered smart bike, and it costs $699, but at the time of this recording, you can get $100 off, and I have a link to that below this video. So there's quite a few things that make the RENPHO AI-powered smart bike different than any of the other bikes that I have here. So in the next few minutes here, we're gonna do a walkthrough of the RENPHO AI-powered bike, and I'm gonna give you my very first impressions of the bike, and I'm gonna point out some of the key things that really differentiate this bike from anything else on the market. And in case you missed my previous video, I did an assembly of the RENPHO bike, which I have a link to below this video in the description box. And I would like to remind you that RENPHO did send me this bike for free, so this is the first bike that I have here that I did not pay for with my own money. That being said, I am going to review this bike just like any other bike I've reviewed. As you probably already noticed by just looking at this bike, it does not have a giant exposed flywheel on the front of the bike, and also it does not claim to be magnetic resistance. Instead, it has something called smart motor dampening. And in addition to the smart motor dampening system that this bike uses for its resistance, it also has a freewheel. So what I mean by freewheel is you can stop pedaling this bike and it will just coast. You can keep your pedals just coasting, kind of like a normal outdoor bike, like a road bike or a hybrid bike or a beach cruiser. Those all have freewheels, just like the RENPHO bike. And this is really unique from all of the other indoor cycling bikes I've reviewed so far. Those all have fixed drivetrains, which means when you stop pedaling, those pedals keep going over and over. And that's just the style that all these other bikes use, like the Peloton bike, the Nordic Trek bike, the Schwinn IC4, all these other bikes use fixed drivetrains. And while the fixed drivetrain does have a unique feel to it that's kind of cool, it is honestly kind of dangerous. On a normal indoor cycling bike, when you get those pedals turning over with those massive flywheels on the front, and the pedals just keep turning over and over, if you get something in the way of those pedals, you can cause some serious damage. And also, while the exposed flywheel on some of these other bikes I think does kind of look good, it's not exactly the safest thing. So the point I'm getting to is the RENPHO AI-powered bike is actually really safe in these categories. So the next major thing I noticed when riding the RENPHO AI-powered bike is this is a very beginner-friendly bike. It has a very relaxed geometry. It's kind of like a more of an upright riding geometry, so it doesn't put you down in that like aggressive riding position, which makes it more comfortable for the average person just to get on the bike and start riding. Your back is just like more upright and your neck is more upright, so it's just easier on your back and your neck. In addition to that, the pedals that come on this bike are very unique. They are not clip-in pedals and they have a very large platform. So literally, I'm not gonna say I recommend riding this bike without shoes, but like you don't need shoes to ride this bike. So if you're just like sitting around the house and decide you wanna hop on your bike for a ride, you can literally just get on this thing and not wear shoes if you don't want to. Unlike some other bikes, they have steel teeth and special pedals and you need special shoes to clip in and ride. The RENPHO AI powered bike, you don't need any of this stuff. You can just put on normal shoes and strap that strap over your shoe and you're good to go. Another thing that sets the RENPHO bike apart from a lot of the other bikes on the market is the simple fact that there are free classes in a free app that come with the bike. You don't need to pay for it. You don't have like any recurring monthly fees for it. And that is a big contrast to a lot of these other platforms like Peloton and iFit. Most of these other platforms that have some sort of classes for you to sign up for and an app to download, there's some sort of recurring monthly fee or an annual fee you have to pay for them. Not with the RENPHO bike. The RENPHO app is completely free to use. And in addition to that, the RENPHO bike is compatible with third-party apps like Zwift and other third-party apps, which we'll get more into that later. Also, one big benefit of this RENPHO bike is it does give you your metrics such as cadence, power output, and resistance. So really, the RENPHO bike touches on the big three metrics that are important to me anyway when it comes to indoor cycling. Also, the RENPHO bike does not come with any sort of screen, but it does have a tablet holder up front, so you can bring your own tablet or hook up your phone, or just bring your own screen. You're not locked into any particular platform. Okay, so now that I have that basic stuff out of the way, let's do a walk around and tour of the RENPHO bike. If you are finding this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and any questions or comments you have, please leave down below. The first thing I want to show you on the RENPHO bike is the screen up here. So all you gotta do is turn these pedals over and it'll turn the screen on. And it powers right up, and I think that this display up here is actually really pretty. So to change the resistance, you just rotate it here on the outer edge, and it changes in increments of 0.5, and it goes from 0 all the way up to 40. So it's also like right up here by the handlebars, so it's really easy and convenient just to reach over and adjust your resistance. Also, it is a touch screen, and you can like tab over to see different metrics. So here is watts displayed. So right here you can see that watts are displayed here, and if I move over, it shows the cadence here, and Bluetooth, it shows off. Here's the timer, it's at 0, and torque measured in Newton meters, which I find that to be really cool, but you know, I have an engineering background. The next thing I want to show you on the RENPHO bike is the drivetrain. So this is unique. It has a small area here where the flywheel would be. I'm assuming there's a flywheel in there. It does not claim to be magnetic resistance. Like basically every other bike I review, they're either magnetic or friction resistance. This one is called smart motor dampening, and it is different. So let me show you what it sounds like first of all. So when I hopped on this bike, the first thing I thought was, this thing sounds like the future. So it's not 100% silent, but honestly, it's not like really loud and it's not like an obnoxious noise. It's just kind of like a little bit of a noise. The next thing I want to show you here is the pedals. So these pedals are different than basically every other bike I've reviewed. They are only one side, so you're not going to use the back side. And the top has a really large platform. So since the pedal is such a large platform, it's actually really comfortable to put your foot on such a large surface area and pedal. Additionally, there are not cages on this pedal. It just has a simple strap here that you can strap down on your foot. Of course, there is standard threading on this pedal, so you can put any sort of pedal you want on this crank arm. If you decided down the road you wanted to swap out these pedals for some reason, you could put clip-in pedals on this bike. The next thing I want to show you on the RENPHO bike is the seat that comes on the bike. It's a relatively wide saddle. So this is like a very beginner friendly saddle. I feel like a big problem point for beginners getting into indoor cycling is having a saddle that is like too narrow and firm. And I really feel like this saddle that comes on the RENPHO bike is really like a good combination of wide and firm. Like it's definitely has like some squish to it. So I feel like this is just like a good beginner seat that you're not gonna have to like go out and buy like a gel cover to cover it up to make it softer, and you're not going to need to put on like special riding shorts or anything just to get on this bike and start pedaling and be comfortable. The next thing I want to show you about this bike is the geometry. So the handlebars adjust up and down, and as you can see they go basically straight up and straight down. So they don't get like farther away from you or closer to you as you raise and lower them. So really it keeps the bike in basically like a neutral, upright, comfortable riding position. If we take a look at the saddle, we can see that as you raise the saddle up, it does bring it a little bit further away from the handlebars. So this is great for tall people. It will move you a little bit away from the handlebars as you raise it up. And also it's good for short people because as you drop it down, it brings you closer to the handlebars for, you know, the shorter arms that come with shorter legs. According to the official spec sheet, the maximum user weight for this bike is listed at 265 pounds. The max height listed for this bike is 6'5", which I am 6'5", and the minimum height listed for this bike is 5 foot. The handlebars have 24 levels of adjustment up and down, and there is no hole for you to click into, so you can get micro adjustments on this bike. The same exact thing goes for raising and lowering the saddle, except there are 20 levels of adjustment, and you do get micro adjustments because there is no hole that you have to click into raising and lowering the saddle. Also, the saddle does move forwards and backwards. All you do is adjust this knob, and you do get micro adjustments in terms of moving the saddle forwards and backwards. And as you can see here, you can swap out the saddle for any bike seat you would like if you don't want this one. Taking a look up here on the front, this is what the handlebars look like. You get a standard grip kind of going across here. There is no angle down or anything like that, which I actually prefer, so I do like that these are flat across in both directions. And also, these are not exactly round tubes, which I actually do prefer because it gives your hand like a little bit wider surface area to rest on. Out here you get the standard position 2 as well as 3 out here. Here is your tablet holder right here, which you can also put a cell phone on. So I want to take a moment to talk about a fixed drivetrain here for just a moment. Like a normal fixed drivetrain kind of operates like this. When you stop applying force to the pedal, and you let it coast, it will just keep going and going. And on a normal bike that has a massive exposed flywheel like this, there is a lot of force that comes through the pedal. And also on this particular bike, there are steel pedals with like these sharp teeth. So really, honestly, like if you got something in the way, for some reason, say your foot slipped off the pedal or a child stepped in front of this while this was turning over, or like a pet stepped in front of this or something when it was going over, there is like a lot of force going around this fixed drivetrain. I'm telling you, you would not want to get anything in the way of this crank arm as it's coming around with all of that force. Now, I'm not necessarily saying you would want to get hit by this plastic pedal or this crank arm going around. However, the big benefit is there is a freewheel on this thing. So like when you stop pedaling or something got in the way, it would just stop. It wouldn't have like all that force powering it through and just driving on through like a train. Additionally, since all of the mechanics other than like the crank arm, you know, like the flywheel and all of the belts and everything is housed inside of here, there's a couple benefits. For one, since everything is contained inside of this assembly here, you don't have to worry about sweat getting on your drivetrain and causing corrosion and rust forming on your drivetrain. The second big benefit is safety, like we were talking about before. Since the flywheel is not exposed, you don't have to worry about like a pet or a child coming up and getting something caught in a moving, exposed flywheel. Okay, so let's come up here and take a look at the metrics. So I'm just kind of on the bike here, turning the pedals over a little bit, and we have it on the watts display. Let's see what it shows us. Well, maybe I need to give it a little bit of resistance. So it's on 6 Newton meters. Okay, so it shows me my watt output right there. And it seems to be like really responsive. Oh, nice. So yeah, it kind of just gives you your watts. So let me add on a little bit of resistance here. So 13.5 resistance. And it's showing watts are 120-ish. Let me turn them a little faster. 145 watts. So let's see what the cadence is showing. Tab over. Sorry, I don't know how to work these controls yet. Oh, so you just tap it maybe? Yeah. Okay, so cadence, 90, feels like 90 to me. $110. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna set the resistance at 20, kind of just like in the middle. It goes from 0 to 40. And just kind of pedal here. It's giving me power output of 200. I mean, it feels about accurate to me, honestly, based on all my experience on the Peloton and all the rides I've been doing. This feels about right. And after you get off the bike, the screen actually turns off pretty quickly. I'd say like in under 1 minute, this thing turned off on its own. So another big feature that the RENPHO bike has is the FTP data and like the app that comes with it. So in my next video, we're gonna be getting more into the software. I'm gonna show you around how all the software and stuff works. But before we get into like all the software and stuff, I just wanted to do a physical overlook of the bike and see how everything looks and feels. So with that being said, let's see what the minimum and maximum resistance on this bike is like. But before we do that, let me show you what the minimum and maximum height settings are like on this thing. So right now everything is on the maximum settings and I'm 6'5". My inseam is like 34. So this is what I look like on the bike. So I do have like a thicker sole shoe on, and this is kind of like the knee extension I get on the RENPHO bike. This feels like about right for like an upright stationary bike. Maybe I would want the seat to be able to come up just a little bit more, just to be able to get maybe a little bit more extension at my height of 6'5", which is pretty tall. I would say that this bike would probably fit you pretty well if you're 6'3" or under. In terms of the riding geometry, like I was saying before, it's like upright and comfortable. I feel comfortable on this bike. And also, you know, you can get out here in like position 3 if you want to get in a more aggressive riding position, and also this position 2 here. And like I was saying, this bike, one of the big differences about it is just, you know, it doesn't have that fixed drivetrain. So you can, it's like a normal like outdoor road bike or like a beach cruiser. When you stop pedaling, you can coast. And this is like a big time safety feature. So real quick, I want to show you how to adjust everything down to its minimum settings. The knobs are nice, they work nice, perfectly fine. And yeah, these handlebars go like way down. And so does the saddle, way down. Yeah, again, just nice levers here. I really actually like them. And obviously at 6'5", this looks ridiculous, but this is how far everything goes down to kind of give you an idea of what it might look like for somebody who's shorter than 6'5". And just in case you want to go full aerodynamic and drop the handlebars down and get in that real aggressive riding position, you can do that too on this bike. Let me crank it up to max resistance. $300 watts. Yeah, 300 watts. Oh man, it feels like 300 watts. Whew. Not exactly a comfortable riding position though, having the handlebars down that low. But I was able to put out pretty good power output. Okay, so let's talk about the resistance ranges now. So right now I have it on 0.0, no resistance at all. And yeah, there's basically no resistance. It's just like a little bit of resistance to start getting everything turning over. And yeah, just basically no resistance at all. You can hear the internal components turning over freely when I stop. So let's add on a little bit of resistance here. This is 10 Newton meters, 10. So I really like that it gives you like your metrics. That's like really nice about this bike. A lot of these bikes really lack somewhere on the metrics, like either they don't give you your resistance output, they don't give you your cadence output, which cadence isn't a big deal because like you can do the Wahoo cadence sensor and correct that. But power output is honestly like a really big metric that a lot of bikes lack having. And just the fact that the RENPHO bike gives you that power output, like power output is probably the single best metric to have in order to like track your progress and how you're really doing in your cycling performance and just how you're progressing and the true raw metrics for like the truth about how you're doing. Let me add on a little bit of resistance, put it up here on 10. So yeah, the resistance definitely comes on. And then I'll move it to 15. I'm on 15 resistance now. I'd say like in terms of equivalent to Peloton, 15 probably feels like about 20 on the Peloton. I'll add it up to 20. So we're on resistance 20 Newton meters right now. Let me see what my watts are. So my watts output right now is 190, which is about my FTP. Gotta stop for a moment. So I'd say resistance 20 here probably feels like maybe about 30 or so on the Peloton. So now I have the resistance cranked up to 30 Newton meters here on the RENPHO. It's measuring my power output at 300. Cadence is probably about 90. Definitely pretty good resistance on this bike. So let me go, I'm on 30. Power output is 150. Let me crank it up to max resistance now. Max resistance is 40 on here. So this is, yeah, max resistance here. It's really actually pretty strong. And a very unique drivetrain feel. Like it's like I'm riding my actual like road bike outside, and the fact that, you know, it just like has that freewheel. So when I stop pedaling, it doesn't carry those pedals over like a traditional indoor bike. Yeah, road bikes, you know, they have that freewheel just like the RENPHO. So my power output is measured at 300. You can definitely get a good workout on the RENPHO. One other thing I'd like to point out is this bike has a relatively small footprint compared to a lot of the other indoor bikes I have, and also it's just like pretty easy to move around. Like the mobility on it is like really convenient and pretty simple to move compared to most of the bikes I have. So it's not exactly like a super light bike, but like it's light enough that I could like, you know, just kind of pick the whole thing up. And like honestly, for like most of the bikes I have, you know, like the Nordic Trek or the Peloton, there's like no way you could just like pick those bikes up like this. So, you know, this one's like more manageable to move around. So if you don't want to like leave the bike out like just in like the middle of your living room and stuff, it'd be pretty easy to get it out of the way and put it in a closet or something. So let me leave you with my final thoughts of like my initial impressions of the RENPHO AI powered bike. Now obviously I haven't had a chance to like dive into the software, which we're gonna do that in the next video. But for right now, like the way I feel about this bike is it's like a really non-intimidating way to like get your foot in the door to indoor cycling for a beginner, especially with these large platform style shoes and no clip-in pedal requirement or anything like that, and these easy to use straps right here on the pedals. And also like the geometry of the bike and like the seat on the bike and the riding position. It's just like a bike that is like really simple to just get on and just get a workout in like really quickly and easily. Another thing I noticed about the geometry of this bike is it has like a really low frame there, so it's just really easy to kind of like step through and get on this bike. You don't need to like lift your leg up like really high or anything. It's just really simple to get on this bike in comparison to most other indoor cycling bikes I've reviewed. I did notice that there is no water bottle holder on this bike, but honestly, it seems like you could probably just like set a water bottle like right here. As I mentioned before, I really like the display up here that gives you your power in watts. I think it's just like a really nice looking aesthetic, honestly. And I like that it gives you your resistance number here in Newton meters. You can adjust it in increments of 0.5. and then it'll tab on over there to your watts here. And you can hook that all up to the app, or you can use Zwift and other platforms as well, but you don't have to. You can just get on this bike and just ride it without any sort of app at all. Additionally, they do give you the app for free, so there is no recurring monthly membership that you have to pay once you get the RENPHO bike. And if safety is a big concern for you, the RENPHO has the freewheel, and all of the flywheel and everything is contained inside of the assembly there. So this bike is kind of definitely more on the safer end of indoor cycling bikes. If you're planning on buying the RENPHO bike, if you buy it through the link below this video, it will help support this channel and I would greatly appreciate it. As always, I'm not trying to convince you to buy the RENPHO bike. I'm just saying if you're gonna buy it anyway and you buy it through that link, it will help support the channel. So if you want to see current pricing on the RENPHO bike, you can check the link below this video. At the time of this recording, there is a $100 discount on the bike. If this video has been helpful to you, please give me a thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video.